All right, welcome to another deep dive. You know how this works. We take your fascinating sources, and, well, our mission is to extract the most interesting and insightful knowledge from them without, overwhelming you. So today we're diving into excerpts from Mikhail Bulgakov's Master and Margarita.
Ah, yes, Master and Margarita.
Have you read this one?
Oh, many times. A truly singular work.
I'm excited to dive in.
It's, for those encountering it for the first time, it weaves together some seemingly disparate threads.
Ooh,
So on the one hand, you have this biting satire of 1930s Moscow, and then all of a sudden it's disrupted by the arrival of the devil Woland and his, well, you have to say his wildly eccentric retinue.
Sounds a bit like our deep dives, maybe.
Perhaps, perhaps. But interwoven with this is the powerful and deeply human story, the one penned by the master, focusing on Pontius Pilate's encounter with Yeshua Ha-Nozri.
Okay, so you've got Moscow in the 30s, the devil, and Pontius Pilate. I'm starting to see why this was such a challenging one for our listeners.
It's a lot to unpack, but Bulgakov does it masterfully.
And, just to set the stage, I think it's worth noting the novel's epigraph, it's from Goethe's Faust,
Ah, Faust, yes.
where Mephistopheles says, "Part of that power which still produceth good whilst ever scheming ill."
A fitting choice.
It really is. It hints at this, really complex interplay of good and evil that runs through the whole thing. So I guess your goal for this deep dive, right, is to not only understand the core stories within these excerpts, but also to kind of uncover the surprising ways Bulgakov makes them, resonate with each other.
Right, exactly. How they speak to each other.
Yeah. Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start with the initial chaos that kind of descends upon Moscow with Woland's arrival.
Yeah, well, the way Bulgakov introduces Woland is striking. He doesn't arrive with fanfare, but kind of materializes from the thickening air.
Thickening air.
Yeah, accompanied by this transparent citizen.
Oh, wow.
And then this remarkably tall, thin man with, well, how does he put it? With a jeering physiognomy.
Okay, that's vivid imagery.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's almost like this casual intrusion of something totally extraordinary into the ordinary fabric of Moscow life.
Yeah, I get that. And then their first encounter, right?
At Patriarch's Pawns.
Patriarch's Pawns, right. It's with Mikhail Berlioz, this literary editor, and Ivan Homeless, a poet. This seemingly chance meeting throws us right into it's a fascinating ideological debate.
Precisely. They're discussing initially the historical existence of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
And Berlioz very confidently argues that the Christian narrative is basically just a repackaging of earlier myths. He asserts that they created their Jesus, who in fact never lived, drawing parallels with, gods born of virgins and other Eastern religions.
Right.
It's a very specific and quite contentious point.
It is. And as our sources indicate, this really provoked a strong reaction from Bulgakov himself.
It certainly did.
His journal entry from 1925, right?
Yes.
It reveals his outright indignation at the idea of Jesus being depicted as a scoundrel and swindler.
He felt very strongly about it.
He did. So right from the outset, we're presented with these sharply contrasting viewpoints, right, on these really fundamental beliefs. It really makes you wonder what Bulgakov himself was wrestling with.
It does. That's a key question here, Rose.
Yeah.
And what's so fascinating is how this, this intellectual debate is almost immediately overshadowed by, well, this eruption of the supernatural.
Right.
Woland jumps in.
Yeah.
With a prediction. He predicts Berlioz's death. And it's not just any death. It's gruesome and specific decapitation by a Russian woman, a Komsomol girl, involving a tram car.
Oh, wow. That's not just a vague warning. That's specific.
It's a detailed premonition.
And it's what makes it so unsettling is the utterly bizarre and precise fulfillment of this prophecy.
Right.
The excerpts, they detail how Berlioz meets his end exactly as Woland foretold. And Homeless is left in a state of, I can only imagine, bewildered shock. He realizes that Woland somehow possessed this knowledge of a future event. This really throws the established reality of their world into question, doesn't it?
It throws everything into question, absolutely. And the strangeness is only amplified by Woland's companions.
Right, yeah.
You have Berlioz and Homeless encountering this checkered type who offers nonsensical directions.
Oh, yeah.
And they have this surreal conversation about the very possibility of the devil's existence.
It's like Bulgakov is messing with us.
He is, in a way. These early encounters, they serve to blur the lines between what is real and what is not.
Okay, yeah.
They set the stage for the increasingly bizarre events that follow. It's as if Bulgakov is telling us right away, hey, the rules of reality, They don't apply here.
Right, right. And the repercussions of Berlioz's death, right? It sends Ivan Homeless on a truly, well, a chaotic trajectory. So let's dive into that madness that seems to infect the literary world in the wake of this initial encounter.
Yeah, well, Homeless's behavior becomes, let's say, erratic, increasingly erratic, bordering on delusional even. His desperate pursuit of the Professor Woland leads to a series of utterly bizarre encounters.
Like what? Give us an example.
Well, there's this seemingly throwaway detail of a cat on the
A
tram.
cat on the tram.
Yeah, paying with a 10 kopeck piece.
What?
It's a perfect example of Bulgakov's technique.
Yeah.
He injects the absurd, the fantastical, right into the mundane.
Yeah, I see that.
It's humorous, but also deeply unsettling.
It's that blend, isn't it? It's like, what? Okay. Now, his increasingly frantic search leads him to Griboidov's.
The Literary Association.
Right. And the excerpts paint this very vivid picture of this hub of writers. They're all anxiously awaiting Berlioz, but their primary concerns are, well, they're centered around the prosaic details.
Let's have a dinner reservations.
Yeah, dear reservations. They're completely oblivious to the tragic and bizarre event that's just happened.
It's a stark contrast, and it has this sharp satirical edge, right? I mean, they're preoccupied with the menu while one of their own has just met this horrific predicted end.
Yeah, it's almost absurdist.
It really is. And it underscores Bulgakov's pointed critique of, well, how ideology can blind individuals to even the most blatant realities, prioritizing these superficial concerns over profound events. Makes you wonder about their artistic integrity, doesn't it?
It does. And once the news of Berlioz's death finally, kind of penetrates their self-absorbed world, even more inexplicable events start happening at Griboidov's.
Right. Things like the flashing light by the gates.
That mysterious light. It's almost as if the supernatural is directly mocking their insulated existence.
You could see it that way. And then we have Homeless's increasingly desperate attempts to explain these bizarre events at Patriarch's Pawns.
Yeah.
And this ultimately leads to his admission to Dr. Stravinsky's clinic.
Oh, right.
His interaction with Ryukin, another writer, highlights the pervasive disbelief and outright dismissal he faces. They just can't process what he's trying to tell them.
And the diagnosis he receives is it's cruelly ironic.
It really is.
Locomotor and speech excitation. Delirious interpretations. Schizophrenia. Homeless himself recognizes the bitter truth the cursed foreigner had, in a way, predicted this very outcome.
He did.
It's the chilling commentary, I think, on how those who speak truth to power, especially when that truth is, well, bizarre, they can just be dismissed as mad.
Easily dismissed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's within this clinic, right, that we're introduced to another pivotal figure, the master.
A master, yes.
He, too, is a patient, a writer who has authored a novel centered on Pontius Pilate.
A novel within a novel.
Right. And this sets in motion the crucial parallel narrative that kind of unfolds in ancient Jerusalem, right?
Yeah.
And this provides this profound counterpoint to the satirical chaos of Moscow.
That's exactly right.
Okay, now let's shift our focus to the sheer spectacle and disruptive force of Woland's performance at the Variety Theater.
Right.
These excerpts truly capture the upending of order that his presence brings.
Right. Well, Woland's performance is like this deliberate act of exposing the superficiality and greed that Bulgakov saw in the Moscow society of his time.
So he's making a statement.
Oh, absolutely. We witness money inexplicably disappearing, audience members' clothing magically changing, and even members of Woland's retinue like Faggot and Behemoth vanish into thin air. It's a very public display of the illusory nature of their materialistic concerns.
I see that. And the audience reaction it's this fascinating mix of awe and just escalating panic.
It is.
And the rumors that spread like wildfire in the aftermath, women running through the streets in their underwear, and the bizarre theft of a head from a coffin, they're so outlandish, right? They almost feel like a natural extension of the already surreal events Woland has orchestrated.
It's as if he's just unleashed this wave of absurdity.
Yeah, totally. And the consequences for the Variety Theater staff, well, they're equally chaotic and bewildering.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the bookkeeper's inexplicable encounters with empty jackets and the sudden disappearance of personnel, it underscores the complete breakdown of any semblance of order or logical explanation. And then there's the arrest of Anushka.
The woman associated with the spilled oil earlier.
Right. She's arrested for attempting to exchange a $10 bill that she claims she never saw. It further amplifies the comedic yet unsettling
The
confusion.
whole thing is just delightfully absurd.
Yeah, it is. And the authorities' attempts to make sense of it all are almost as darkly humorous as the events themselves. They launch an investigation into a supposed criminal gang of hypnotists.
Sensible and irrefutable explanations.
Right. But they completely fail to acknowledge the genuinely supernatural nature of what has occurred. It speaks volumes about the regime's need to maintain this veneer of rational control, even when confronted with the utterly irrational.
It's a brilliant piece of satire, highlighting the limitations of a purely materialistic worldview.
Yeah. And it's that inability to see beyond the surface, I think.
Right. Now, should we turn our attention to Margarita and the pivotal pact she makes?
Yeah, let's talk about Margarita. Margarita's introduction, well, it paints a portrait of profound unhappiness, this deep yearning for something more.
More than her current reality.
Yeah, and her chance encounter with Azazello, right?
Right.
One of Woland's, let's say, more sinister associates. And the invitation to meet a foreigner, well, it marks the beginning of her descent, or maybe her ascent, into the supernatural realm.
Her transformation after using Azazello's cream is dramatic.
It is.
It's symbolic, almost like she's shedding her mundane existence. Her flight on the broom, the acts of rebellious destruction she commits, you can see it as a cathartic release from the constraints of her previous life.
Yeah, yeah. It's a powerful image of a woman reclaiming agency in a restrictive world.
Absolutely.
Her arrival at Woland's apartment, well, it introduces us to the full bizarre ensemble of his retinue, right?
You said it.
We have the wickedly witty cat, Behemoth, the menacing Azazello, the roguish Koroviev, and the enigmatic Hela. It's a collection of unforgettable characters, each with their own unique brand of chaos.
Each one stranger than the last.
And then there's Margarita's role as the hostess of this grand ball, the Ball of the Full Moon. It's a central and surreal set piece, this phantasmagorical gathering, right?
Bringing together this bizarre array of historical figures and notorious sinners.
Yeah, and Korovia's instructions to her underscore the strange and demanding nature of her otherworldly role.
She has to offer equal attention and courtesy to everyone, regardless of their past transgressions.
Or her own feelings, right?
Precisely.
And the events at the ball are suitably strange and memorable. We have Frida's desperate and recurring plea
For a seemingly small act of mercy.
right, and then there's this seemingly endless pool filled with cognac.
And the unsettling appearance of Baron Michael.
Right.
Michael's presence at the ball, well, it serves a specific and rather dark purpose. He's revealed to be an eavesdropper and a spy.
Okay.
A figure who embodies the pervasive atmosphere of suspicion and surveillance in 1930s Moscow. His swift and brutal demise at the ball serves as a stark warning about the consequences of such activities in Woland's domain.
Yeah, yeah. And then, following the chaotic and overwhelming experience of the ball, Margarita, driven by her enduring love for the master, makes this heartfelt and desperate plea to Woland.
She pleads for his return.
Right. Let's explore this retrieval of the master and the ultimate resolution of their destinies within these excerpts.
All right, so her wish is granted. The master reappears, still bearing the physical and emotional scars of his confinement.
Oh, yeah.
Their reunion is bittersweet. It's tinged with the pain and uncertainty of their experiences. It really highlights the human cost of artistic suppression.
Yeah. And ultimately, Woland makes a decision, a pronouncement regarding their fate. He orchestrates their return to their basement apartment on the Arbat, and he restores the master's long-lost manuscript.
Lost and found.
Right. It's this act, in light of that scheming ill yet producing good epigraph, it's really thought-provoking.
It makes you think.
Yet the master's spirit seems broken.
He does.
He expresses this profound lack of inspiration and just desires peace and obscurity with Margarita.
A quiet life.
Yeah. And it raises this question, right, about the potential for art to even survive under such oppressive conditions and the sacrifices demanded of the artist.
Big questions.
Now, interwoven within this main narrative is the master's novel, right?
Right.
And specifically the story of Pontius Pilate and Yeshua Ha-Nozri.
Yes.
These excerpts provide a deeply moving and philosophical counterpoint to the satirical events unfolding in Moscow.
It's a story for the ages.
It is, and the encounter between Pilate and Yeshua, well, it's really the heart of the novel's exploration of these really fundamental human themes.
It is, and you have Pilate suffering from this terrible headache. He's initially dismissive and irritated by Ha-Nozri.
Yeah. But as Yeshua speaks, right,
his words begin to penetrate Pilate's hardened exterior,
they do.
stirring this profound inner conflict within him. We witness Pilate's growing turmoil as he grapples with the implications of Yeshua's pronouncements.
It's a powerful transformation.
It really is.
And then there's this conversation between Pilate and the high priest, Caiaphas, regarding the fate of Ha-Nozri and Bar-Rabban.
A pivotal moment.
It is. Despite recognizing Yeshua's innocence, Pilate succumbs to the pressure and condemns Yeshua to death while freeing the criminal Bar-Rabban.
A classic illustration of cowardice.
Right. And Woland later emphasizes this. And Pilate's remorse and anguish, they're palpable. His conversation with Afranius, the head of the Secret Service, concerning the execution of Judas, reveals the immense psychological burden of his decision.
And we see Matthew Levi's despair, his grief at Yeshua's death, his longing for Yeshua to be released from suffering. This part of the narrative really explores themes of faith, sacrifice, and the raw pain of loss.
It does. And this narrative thread from the Master's novel, it connects back to Woland, right?
In an unexpected way.
In this unexpected way.
Woland reveals to the Master that Pilate is condemned to eternal torment, and that the Master's novel, the very act of retelling his story, plays a role in granting him eventual release.
It's almost like it's a blurring of the lines between fiction and reality within the novel itself.
It's metafiction at its finest.
Yeah. It really is. It suggests that, it suggests the enduring power of art and storytelling, even to offer solace and maybe even redemption to figures from history and legend.
Powerful stuff.
It is. Now, finally, let's examine the chaotic departure of Woland and his retinue from Moscow and the lasting impact of their, extraordinary visit.
All right. Their exit is as disruptive and theatrical as their arrival.
It really is. We see them in this dramatic flight from the burning apartment building, leaving behind a city grappling with the inexplicable.
Right. And the post-departure escapades of Koroviev and Behemoth, their visit to the Smolensky Market Currency Exchange and the Gribudov restaurant, it's like a final mischievous flourish.
They can't help themselves.
They can't. And their ultimate vanishing signifies the end of their direct influence on Moscow.
Yeah. And in the wake of their departure, Moscow society desperately tries to rationalize these events, attributing everything to mass hypnosis. It's a telling commentary on the human need to find logical explanations, even in the face of, the supernatural. And then we see the opportunistic nature of some individuals like Aliosi Mogorich, who swiftly steps into Rinsky's position.
Always someone ready to fill the void.
Always. And then the epilogue, right?
Yes.
Returns us to Ivan Homeless, now Professor Ponyrev. He's found a degree of peace and stability, but he remains haunted by the events of that spring.
And that recurring image of Pilate under the moon.
Right. Awaiting the liberation granted to him in the Master's novel. And this cyclical connection between the two narratives, it provides a powerful sense of closure and thematic unity.
It ties it all together.
It really does. So we've seen how Bulgakov masterfully interweaves these seemingly disparate yet profoundly connected narratives. The satire of Moscow society under Soviet rule, the wild and disruptive presence of Woland and his, fantastical entourage, and the timeless story of Pontius Pilate and Yeshua Ha-Nozri.
3 distinct threads woven into a single tapestry.
And Bulgakov's genius, I think, lies in his masterful blend of dark humor, the supernatural, and these profound philosophical inquiries. The excerpts are just rich with those aha moments.
They offer multiple perspectives on some very complex themes.
Yeah, and through these brilliantly intertwined stories, Bulgakov really explores the enduring struggles between good and evil, cowardice and courage, guilt and redemption, and, the transformative and maybe even redemptive power of art itself.
These excerpts offer a compelling glimpse into a truly unique and intellectually stimulating work.
And on that note, here's a final thought for you to consider. Reflect on the enduring power of Bulgakov's satirical critique of society and power, right? How do the contrasting narratives of 1930s Moscow and ancient Jerusalem, despite their differences in time and setting, continue to illuminate those timeless and universal struggles of the human spirit?
That's the question.